Good evening. It's Cindy Fodor here with Stamp the Love, and it's Make It Monday. And this is a pre-recorded version because it is a class night. So class night means quite a few projects. So make sure you have comfy jammies, grab something warm to drink, and I'll give you a few seconds while I talk about what's upcoming. So Christmas is coming. Are you ready? I am so having fun making some cards and fun projects, and getting ready for class, of course. But next week I will have a Christmas project to share with you. And then stay tuned because in January I will be having a special version of Stamp a Stack so that you can get ready for your birthday cards for the year. All right, so we'll be offering that as a special class. Just a reminder to get the 4 projects from this month's class if you can't attend the class, which would be tonight as you're watching this, or if you're in the recording. But Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday are my class days in the second Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday of the month. So if you can't attend those, but you would like to get the projects, a $50 order online will get you the projects in the mail as long as it's by the 15th of the month. I don't guarantee it after that because I don't make extra projects after that. I'm done then. So let's go to the project. All right, our first project is this beautiful card that I think I highlighted or gave you a sneak peek of last Monday. And I'm going to show you how to do this. And I'm going to tell you about the products that I used. So the suite is called something of beauty. I can't remember. They always have a little bit different name, but the bundle is called Petals of Beauty. And has these beautiful leaves and flowers. And we're not gonna use any of these dies today, but I can guarantee you'll be seeing these. And I have used some of these in some other projects. But I'm also highlighting this set, which these came out. Let me see. This is a sneak peek, I believe. This is in the January to April mini catalog. So this is a little sneak peek. This bundle just came out as an online exclusive starting December 2nd or whatever. So you can purchase these. This one you'll have to wait unless, of course, you are a demonstrator or you want to become a demonstrator this month. Then I will tell you that you can get this in your starter kit. The number for this is 167014. And this is designed by my friend Carol Norquist for her $1 million sales achievement. And it just has all the perfect sayings in it. So this is one you'll definitely want to keep in your wheelhouse. I am using the die here that you see. I did pull that out of the beautifully celebrated dies. These are also I believe this is the online exclusive. So I think you can get this one right now. Beautifully celebrated. I don't have the stamp set that goes with that, but I did get the dies. All right, so let's get started using Mossy Meadow as our background. And then I'm using 3 pieces of our designer paper from this bundle that just spoke to me. They said, I want you to use me. Aren't they so beautiful? They're so pretty. And I am excited. So I've been having issues with my videos not being, just looking not clear to me. And I can't stand that. So I spent a bit before I started recording here. And I found out that what I needed to do was take it off of autofocus. So I'm going to try to be cautious to learn, because that means when I'm holding things up to you, it's not going to automatically focus. But if we can see clearly, that's better than autofocus, right? All right, so I just have these in little sections, and we're going to probably run out of adhesive here. Check out the back of this paper. Whoops. Yeah, I am going to run out of paper because I just pretty much used all of it right there. All right. Hopefully I have some nearby. Let me just take this out of here because it's just unstringing everywhere. All right, we have enough for that one. Let's go ahead and put that down. This one is, let's see, I have the metric side here of this paper. Well, here we go. This is 3 by 4. This piece is. And then the other one with the, it looks like cotton to me. This one's 2 by 4. And let's see, I always have liquid glue, so we can probably just use some of that. And that's going to go at the bottom, and that is directional, so I want to make sure that I get that going in the right direction. Also want to make sure that these meet up here, because this little guy is going to go right over top of those two. Ta-da! All right. Make sure that's glued down good. Now I just have a piece of my twine or linen thread, and I'm going to wrap that around and tie it over here to this side, just so that we can still see it. It's going to get my fingers to work. Well, that's terrible. That was not tight. Got to get my fingernail down there to hold that in place so it doesn't scoot. I think I got it that time. No, I didn't. Look at that. What is wrong with me? And look at me, I'm turning colors. I look like I'm bruised. All right, Cindy, one last try. Let's try this. Have you ever seen me struggle so much to tie a bow on camera? Wow. Maybe I need to go back to bed and get some sleep. All right, last time I'm doing that. I think it's good. All right, there we go. We will trim this just a little bit. We don't need quite that long of a tail. All right, so next we'll get our stamping done, and then I want to show you this die. This little die comes from the shape dies that I used here, and I just had to use it, so that'll go on the inside. But we're gonna stamp on this piece, and I'm using very vanilla cardstock, but I'm gonna stamp in basic beige. What I like about basic beige, or maybe some don't like, is that it has that green tint to it, and it's not really like our other light green, which I can't ever think of the name of when I need to. Anyways, you know what I mean, in the pastels, in the subtles. Anyways, so I'm gonna use the largest flower, and let's stamp the solid part first. And I am gonna stamp it off, so that's why I brought the scrap paper here. Just wanted to see how did I do this? Something like that. Okay. And then this will line up in this pattern somehow. You just have to find how it matches. And I'm going to probably get my head in the way here. Sometimes it works better for me to stamp the darker part first. And I thought this was going to be light enough or dark enough for me, but it's really a little hard to see. I think I would have done better to do that, but that's not half bad, Cindy, for not being able to see what you're doing. And then the leaf part, I am going to stamp off and stamp. And I just want that to be quiet. That really got a lot later than my sample did, which just probably means I grabbed a pad that isn't as inky, and that's okay, because for this, we want this to just be in the background and not standing out, because we're going to use one of those greetings in Mossy Meadow. and keeping you in my thoughts, holding you in my heart, remembering you in my prayers. It's just such a perfect saying for so many people that I need to send cards to. There we go. It's a little crooked, Cindy. You didn't do very good there, but... And then we'll put some dimensionals on that if we can find some. Looks like there's a few outside pieces here we can use up that are gonna soon be ruined because they're very loose. That looks terrible, but you won't see that part, so that's okay. The backing doesn't want to come off because it's all in tiny little pieces. All right. I have to say, I'm pretty sure that center is going to sag. So let's find some more. It looks like I get to use up all my pieces on my videos. That's not typically what I try to do, but that's just what's happening is I'm ending up with all the little pieces. I'm going to tuck that underneath our rope there. Try to center. And then we're going to add a few gems. I looked at all the colors and all the beautiful gems that I have, but I just went right back to antique pearls because this card is so vintage looking to me. And I didn't want to distract from that too much, so I'm just using the vintage pearls. Or not vintage, they're called antique, but anyways. All right, so let's do the inside. For the inside, I stamped something. Yeah, I did this little stamp up in the corner. So let's do it backwards this time so that we can actually see and we can see if we like that better. So we'll do the full strength first, and then we'll do the stamped off version. First, I'm going to just make sure I know where I'm going here. And now I can actually see through the stamp and see where I'm going so that I know where to put that. And then one thing I didn't do this on the front, and I don't think that it needs it, but it has this little center, and I think I did it. I did it in green. Do I want it in green? I don't know. Let's try it in this just to, yeah, probably. It doesn't show up very much at all unless I do it in green. All right, so there's our center. And then for the base of it, well, let's go ahead and put this in first before I do that. And I really do want to use seal adhesive, but do you think there's any handy? I guess I won't be. I guess I'll use this, but I will try to just use a little bit in the corners because I don't want it to show through. Because this paper I'm using is just vanilla printer paper so that it doesn't add weight to my card. I don't know if you guys struggle with that, but when you go to mail something that looks really nice, sometimes it gets to be a little too heavy. So, all right, I'm afraid I'm going to get this in the ink pad, so let me just close this since we're finished with that. All right, so I'm just putting these down in the corners. And what I did was I went around and I dabbed where there wasn't a hole because I don't really want that gushing through those holes. I'm just going to overlap out to the olive a little, or the mossy meadow a little bit, just so that it's a little bit offset from the corner and it stands out a little bit better. Highlights the beauty of this die. Here we go. Now we have an inside and an outside. And I hope that you enjoyed that lovely card and the beautiful paper. Okay, our next card is this. I want to call it masculine, but it's sort of in between. I guess mostly because the elk. And I gave you a sneak peek the other night of this one as well. And I want to introduce what I used for this. So I used the new Outdoor Adventure, which is part of our online exclusives. And it has these great dies that goes with it. So I used the elk die for that. And then I'm also using, what is this called? Words of Beauty. And I want to say this might coordinate with that first one. I think that suite, this might be part of that suite because of the beauty, because I think it goes with that. Nice words. Love these fonts, and I love the die cut words. So we're using the Just from the set. And the embossing folder is called Stone and Vine, I believe. Now this is a pre-order. This is not from the suite. This is a pre-order for the catalog that comes out in January. So it's only available as a pre-order. But I think that it looks really cool. It has this ivy. And what I did was I took, and it's really deep. Like, I don't know if you can see how deep that is. But it worked out really nice to sponge brush some color on and not really change the color of the whole paper, just get some color on these really deep area, or the pieces that are really sticking up. And I don't need to get them all, but I don't think I've ever seen one that has the depth that this one creates. I'm sure I have, but maybe because it's smaller pieces that are sticking up and not like the whole thing. It just really stands out a little more than usual. I just really want to highlight those little ivy leaves because they're so cool. All right, so there we go. I'm going to use the pad. Whoops, I'm sorry for the clamor. I'm going to use that pad again, so I'm going to keep that handy. All right, let's go ahead and stamp a few things. So I am using our party dies for this, and we'll do the trees. And that. And then I'm going to see if I need the Stamparatus to do this elk on the elk that I've already cut out. So hopefully I can see through there enough. Let me just get my head in the way here so I can see where I'm stamping. There we go. That's pretty good. And then one more thing. I want to stamp the because, just because, but I think I'll say that to last because I want to make sure that it's on the right spot there. All right. The other thing that I did was I stamped the inside with, I guess I didn't get that stamp out. Hopefully I didn't lose it. There it is. I just forgot to get it out. Let me grab a block. And I'm trying to think what color I did that in. I did that in Mossy Meadow. And I just used those little, I think what I did was I turned it like this each time, which takes a little bit of work, but it was worth it in the end because I ended up with a perfect, whoops, not if you miss it, it's not going to be perfect. If you miss it, it's always better to go back before you re-ink it because otherwise the rest of the blocks are going to be darker. So I'm glad I caught it just before I, and then one more here. Look at that. All right, so that will be our inside. Let's go ahead and get that put in place. I am using Blackberry Bliss paper and ink, as well as the Early Espresso and the Mossy Meadow. Great combination of colors. All right, I did not fold this properly, so let me just run this across here so it lays flat. All right, now we're going to go ahead and place this on the front. I guess my mouse is not going to work very well as adhesive. Since this is embossed, I'm going to go ahead and use green glue, just because that adhesive is not going to be happy with all these blank spaces in here. Okay, I just saw that my edges still aren't lined up. I tried to fold it before I started the video, and I had stuff laying in it. I had the pieces laying in it, and let's do it from this side so I'm not squishing the design. I can't stand it when my edges aren't approximated. If you're medical, you know what that means. Or surgical. All right, that's better. Now, hopefully that's straight. All right, so now we can go ahead and start putting our pieces in here. I don't want to put that on yet because I want to stamp it before I stick it on. But I might just stick part of this on and just glue the part that's gonna, well, that got to be way more glue than I need. That's a little insane there, Cindy. Now, I'm going to tell you, I should have looked for a special gem, because as I cut these words out, I saved every little dot. I was very careful to put them on the table in a pile. I was going to put them in a container. And I gathered everything up and I went back to work on something. And as I was working, I realized that my little dots were gone. And I think that I went and saw the mess on the table and just cleaned it up and threw it in the trash. And I couldn't bring them back because there were a million little dots to try to find. So we'll see how that looks. We might have to add a colored gem or something, but I was not about to cut the dots just to cut. I could use a punch maybe. All right, let's finish. Let me finish by stamping It's Your Birthday. And that came from the Just, I think. Let me grab it here. Yeah, Just Because It's Your Birthday. We're going to do that in Mossy Meadow. And I have this tiny, tiny piece of vanilla. And I am, again, going to try to not get my head in the way. But hopefully get that straight. Not too bad. It looks like it might be a little curved on here. Sometimes if you turn it upside down and let it just fall on the block, and then it can be a little straighter for you. Again, I'm just going to grab my green glue. Oops, and glue that to my paper. And this is our designer paper. And I am not sure which designer paper I pulled this from. It is from one that just came out recently. I know I'm not going to think what it goes with. It came out as a suite. Just beautiful paper. I think we've used it in some things before. Now, hopefully I gave him some space here. Huh. Okay, nice to have green glue on there because you can move it around a little bit too. It gets where you want it to be. Although I think that guy got just a little bit crooked. All right, I'm going to go ahead and put some dimensionals on this one. Let's use up the rest of our little pieces here. And maybe one more. I don't know if I can stick another one down there by his leg. All right. Let's put you in place here. And then we can pull this off and stamp the because. I really want to get that straight. There we go. It looks like that could use some inking before I put that in my case to go to class on Monday. I guess you understand that I'm recording this not on Monday, of course. All right. And then I really think that you're going to know that that's a J, even if there's not a dot there, but that dot really, it does make it look nice. So I'm going to come up with something for that. I do have gems, but I don't think that I think they're a little bit too large for the J, but let's just try it. Try it on for size instead of putting it down there. Well, don't stick to my finger. What do you think? That's not terrible. I think that'll work. I was going to put it here, but I think that will work, and we could even put a large one here. And then, why do they want to? I guess my fingers are sticky. There we go. Not terrible. All right, I feel like my light is getting a little bit too light. I tried to keep it light, but this one does not have as much light colored in it, so just turn those up a little bit. Okay. All right, so that is it for that one. Let's go to the next one. Okay, our next project is this little decor piece. It's very tiny. I did see this idea somewhere, and it took me a bit to figure out. I thought they were going to be much larger, but when I figured out which die they used, I was like, oh, that's tiny, but it's so cute and petite. And you can, when it's dark, you can see the little light shining through our vellum piece here. So to do this, I'm using the Delicate Pines bundle, and we're going to use some of the stamps, but quite a few of the dies. So I use this big greenery die here, pine, and all of the tiny little ones. Okay, got to pop back here and re-record something because, as you saw there, my camera decided to narrow down to some first spot it was looking at. I have no idea what it was focusing on. There was absolutely nothing there. So it was missing it until I caught it. So one of the things that I was showing you was the pieces that I used. So I used these two pieces for the snowflake, which you'll see in a second. But I used this large greenery piece here, and then there's several little ones. So I used all three of those, so it was a little faster cutting them out to do this little piece here. But I did want to tell you about this, about the actual folded piece, and I want to give you some measurements. So it's 3¼ inches wide, and it is 8½ inches long. It is scored at 1/2 inch, 3¾ inch, and 7 inches. Okay. And in order to do that, like say you want to make, something else, want to make a little packet for candy or whatever, you need to figure out how wide and how tall you need it, and then add your measurements for that. So I knew that I wanted to use that snowflake. So, and I wanted it to be centered. So I figured out, and I also think about this. I think about how much cardstock I'm going to use and how much I can get. So if I use an 8.5 inch long piece, that means that I can get 3 of these down the 11 inch side. Okay. So if I can get this fit into the narrowest side of it, the narrowest direction of paper, I can get more. All right. So that's why this is 8.5. And I always need, so I measured the width that I needed, which ended up being 1.5 inches. And then the height that I needed, because I wanted it to be about square. It's not quite square. It's a little taller. And then you always need something to glue down. So there's a 1/2 inch flap there to do the gluing down. Okay. So hopefully that makes sense. All right. And then I took this one and stuck inside of it because this was going to be a wasted piece and this fit in there perfect. So I cut them both at the same time. That saved me 1 extra die cut. And then I'll tell you about the piece that comes out of there then and how I dug them out of the trash and decided to use them for something. So pretend we did this by the magic of television. Run that through the Big Shot. And voila, we have this piece that's cut out and we have this little piece that we cut out as well. Okay. So now, excuse me, we're ready to put this together, except let me get the folds. So we're going to fold that under, and I did that on the wrong side, I guess, from what my sample was anyways. So just to explain, I cut it on the short side so that this piece is rounded here, which is the reason for that. I forgot my sample was pieced because I had to, till I figured out what the pattern, I had to add some pieces. So the longer piece is the base and it will come towards the front. And then this front piece folds back so that you never see the seam in the front. Okay. So I always try to make sure that you don't ever see a flat piece coming out at you. Okay. So inside of here, we're going to take our piece of vellum. So this is our new vellum. It's very firm. It's more like a cardstock vellum. And I embossed them with our, I forget what it's called, the leaf embossing folder. Tiny little leaves in there. And I was able to stick several of them because I don't need the edges here. So I was able to do 6 at a time. These are 3 by 3. You do want to make sure that these are going the direction you want before you stick that in there. And then what I would do is just put some liquid glue around this snowflake cutout. Then you'll know that it's not going to be overkill. And vellum is going to take a minute to adhere there. So while that's doing that, let's go ahead and put our adhesive on here. And then this piece just fits into that groove and press that down good. Okay. All right, now we can decorate the front. We're going to stamp this little guy. And you know, there's probably a right and the wrong way to stamp this. I think that I actually stamped it before I die cut it. We're just going to wing it and see how it goes. I'm not going to try to find if there's a specific one. That doesn't look awful. It's not perfect, but all right. And while we're stamping, let's go ahead and stamp our Celebrate the Season. And this would be nice as a die cut, but because it's not, we're going to create our own die cut. And I'm trying to figure out why I have this stamp set here, or this stamp here. I really don't know why that's in there. All right, so I just took my scissors and just tried to to do a little bit of a swirly pattern and not have any like extremely sharp turns or straight lines. So you can see I'm just turning the paper. Whoops. You also want to hold on to it. Now this bottom could be pretty straight, and I don't want it to be straight, so I'm trying to give it a little bit of a curve with the letters. All right, that doesn't look too bad. All right, so this is just going to get glued across the top. I'm just going to stick some liquid glue on there, slightly over the snowflake. Got this glue on my finger. All right, and then these two pieces, I did half of the really big long piece and one of these pine pieces. And this, I really wanted a little bit more of these, but this paper started to really stick in on the little stem here. So it's going to be a little shorter than I wanted it to be. And then just going to put that one right across the center there. Whoops. No, you need to stay in place too. We still need you. All right. Now I'm going to just grab, hopefully, a dimension if I have some left here, and try to stick some just in the center of that. I might also put some small pieces on these little petals, just so that it gives it a little bit of pop. Let's do this one yet. Because you have to remember, you have to peel off the backings. Yay. All right, so here we go. All right, not so pretty. And then for embellishment, I decided to pull out these. They were from Halloween, I believe, and I hadn't used them. But check out these really pretty stars, and they come in white as well as the purple and black. So I just put 2 of those pretty shiny stars, still sticking to my fingers. There we go, all done. I probably made that way harder than it really needed to be, but anyways, I wanted to show you all the steps, and I hope that you enjoyed that. It's something quick and easy that you could make as a gift, or if you just needed some place settings or a little bit of decoration around your manger scene or something like that. Quick and easy. Our fourth project is a banner, and it's pretty much customizable because there are several choices of designer paper to use. But here's just a few of the ideas that I did. So those are some, I don't know if you call them Yule logs, that I have in my living room, and I was able to put a banner there. Here's a different one hanging here that I had on my hearth, or above my hearth. And then, oh, there it is. I brought that in here to display. And then here's one I hung on my little Christmas tree. It's in my living room. And this light is almost too bright, and it makes it very... Let me see if I can put the light away from that a little bit so that you can see it. But it's very shiny, so that doesn't help. And then one on my wreath on my front door. Right here. So anyways, I'll explain the little snowflake and where that comes from, or you've seen one of the projects already, but I'll show you what I did with that or where that came from. Anyways, yeah, let's get started. Okay, so here's how this gets made. So I cut out 3 banners. This is from the beautiful Christmas paper that was unavailable for a while, and then they put it on the last chance list, and they discounted it, evidently, somebody told me, and then of course it sold out. So I fortunately had some. If you need some, I'm not sure that I have a whole pack, but if you're in desperate need of some of this gorgeous paper, because it is really, really yummy. But anyways, I cut lots of different designs out, so there's lots to pick from. I also cut the letters Joy out, but as you noticed, I had this in there instead of the O, because these were cut from that last project that we did, and they were all in the trash. Every time I threw one in the trash, I went, I probably could use that for something. And then as I was putting this together, I was like, boy, that almost could be an O. So I pulled them all back out of the trash, which was clean, by the way. It was just paper stuff. So anyway, so I replaced the O in that. Now, the only problem is some of the papers, the letters don't stand out as well on. I think this one will be okay. So I actually sponged the edges of some, as you saw in the video. The other thing is I cut the size for the next banner up from the Party Banners die, but I cut a lot of paper for this class. So I decided that I think we can each cut our own little tails on this. I will see how, either that or not cut them at all. Like, I think they could even be a rectangle, but all I need to do is just scoot that down and cut along that edge. Got to get to the point there. I'm trying not to go too far. And voila. Let's just even that out. This I might have needed to start up a little bit. Let me just get back up here. All right, so hopefully when we move that back up, we will have a perfect banner. So let's try it for the next one. I'll get better at this as I go, right? I need to leave this up just a little bit because that point, I have to start coming over from the point. Probably don't need to do it quite that much, but it's not exactly straight. You can see it's got a little bit of a curve to it. And that's okay. It's really not that hard to cut. And I'm not worried that if it's not perfect either, because I don't think that you're going to notice if it's not exactly perfect. But it saves me 3 extra die cuts for one banner. So there you go. Not too difficult of a decision, right? Just trying to get to this point here. Okay, there we go. All right, now we can put it together. All right, so we're just going to, and then you can even choose, like most of these, you can choose whichever side you want. And you saw on the one sample that I showed where I did a different one for the inside. But that would even be pretty if you have a more country looking decor or area that you want to put it. I hope that the little quick video of the different ones that I did gave you some inspiration as to where you might want to put a small banner. And I made it small just so that it could go with a lot of different things. Because typically we don't need, at least in my little house, I don't need some huge party banner. Excuse me. All right, now these can be popped up. For time's sake, I am not going to pop them up, but they look really nice popped up with dimensionals. But this video is getting long, it feels like already, but that might just be because I had to re-record sections because my silly camera decided to act up. The other thing that you can do is add some gems to this, which I did not. I think the paper is gorgeous itself, but you certainly could. You could easily add some gems to this if you want to. I will tell you that when I put this together, I do sort of put them straight across from each other so that sometimes it's hard to get these letters to really be lined up so that if they would hang straight, or if you would sit them straight, that they would look dimensional. Okay. All right, there we go. And then I took a punch. This is an 1/8 inch punch. This is our old 1/8 inch punch. And this is not the one I use, so hopefully it punches good. And then I put all 3 of them together and punched them at the same time. It does not work like the other one did. But now that I punched that already, maybe it's just this paper. Or maybe I'm just getting weak. Yeah, it's definitely the punch. So we will definitely be using this punch. I just found that it's easier to do them all at the same time so that I'm getting them a little more even. All right, so getting the punch back out is the trick. Okay, and then I just cut a length of our white twine, or white baker's twine, and you'll just feed it back and forth through here until you create your pretty quick and easy. And then you just have to feed these through till you're about even. And that was too far. And then I just took this and folded the end down. It depends where, you know, how much maybe you need the whole length. But then I just tied it in a knot so that I had this loop. And you could take, excuse me, I was losing my voice, take a little paper clip and hook that up, or a, excuse me when I take a drink. Or an ornament hanger or something, and then you can just hang that with that. Or this will be big enough to even loop around a small branch. Okay, so there we go. Do you love it? What does that say? Cindy, you are losing it. You just all sat here and watched me do that, didn't you? Let's see if this will fit through here with this knot that I have in here. Because, yeah. Whew, thank goodness. All right. I'm going to stop here because you know what it's supposed to look like, and I'm not going to bore you with me watching me do this. Although you would really like to watch me do this painful thing, wouldn't you? Don't you hate when you do that? Of course, maybe you don't do that, but yeah. It's called not paying attention to what you're doing. All right. I have one bonus project to show you guys, so don't run away. Did I say prize? Product to show you, but maybe a prize too. All right, just so you don't think that I didn't finish it, I did. I put it all together properly so that you could see it. All right, so the bonus project that I wanted to show you, just because I wanted to make some gift cards. So I pulled out, I think it's from last year. It was a like an advent calendar that you could hang these little pockets on. And I decided to make little gift card holders with those. So let me show you first. I made, so this is one of them. There's another one. There were several different designs that you could do. And so there's one. And there's one. Okay, so I put those all together. And I just wanted to tell you, because you stayed with me so long, I'm going to do a drawing. Just let me know if you would like to receive one of those gift card packets. I will put that in the mail. I'll draw at least 2 winners, depending on how many people are on here and watching this, okay? Maybe more. All right, so let me just take one of those packets. And I did add a few things because the inside, I wanted it to have a little note in there since it's a little gift. And I'm using some old stuff. I'm using our corner rounder just to make this a little extra special, not just a straight piece of paper. And the other thing is, I think that it helps it slide in an envelope a little bit better if it's rounded and you don't have those edges catching. I also did a circle. These are basic beige from our Stylish Shapes dies. And then this is all from the kit. And the reason I'm using the circle is because I don't want to use these dates, because this is not an advent calendar. But I want this shiny gold on this one, and on another one it's like a wooden pattern. But I don't want the numbers to show. Okay, so, and then on like this one had a date on it as well, but I covered it and still had that nice gold foil showing. All right, and I also went through my old paper pumpkins because I wanted some small stamps to use on this. And so I found 2 old sets for my paper pumpkin to use for this. So if you wonder where this is coming from. So it's called a blast from the past. Pull out stuff that you already have. So that's going to go up there. Just going to clean this right away. And then I'm going to put, let's see, I cut apart the Merry Christmas and the Season's Greetings so that we could make them shorter. And I got both of them just because we might need both during the event that I'm doing this at. Okay. And then this piece, where's my adhesive? There it is. It's just going to hang down from the pocket. I just want to make sure it's under there. Like so. And then I'm just going to pop this up with the dimensional. And I had some extra ones here. Like so. And then let's go ahead and tuck this in. I have to open it first. There's a little, there's the little, yeah, where the envelope joins. What is that? A joint. Okay. Think of your words, Cindy. All right. I also didn't want these paper clips, not paper clips, clothes clips to be naked. So, and I wanted, because I want these to look extra fancy. So I cut some designer paper that we have that probably just went on the discontinued list. And I cut it in the reds and the peacock. Just enough to cover, well, that barely covered. I think some of these are longer than, some of these clothespins are longer than others. All right, and then this one has berries with it. So we're just gonna put a little glue on there, a little or a lot, and they just stick on there. All right, and then I added some, what did I put on this one? I did a bow on the top of the berries, I think. This is a pretty heavy duty twine, and it was for the basically the clothesline to hang these all on. But it's a really nice cord, a little coarser than normal. But because it's not for a card, I don't care. Because it's not like I'm gonna like send a card in. I mean, I can send this in the mail, but I already have a clip here. So it's not something that I'm gonna easily send in the mail without packaging or something. I'm just gonna stick that baby there, and maybe I will use another glue dot to get this stuck on here. And we'll just put that right on there. And now we have this cute little gift card, and all they have to do is open it and take out their note and their gift card. Okay? Quick and easy, right? So try to make that very simple, and it's nice when you have a kit that's got all the cute little envelopes in it already. All right, thanks for joining me. Again, don't forget to say drawing so that you can get in the drawing for one of these project packs, okay? All right, thanks for joining me. Take care. God bless.